we felt pretty good about ourselves as marketing people. We thought, great, we're doing what we're supposed to do, we're doing our job, we're generating sales leads, we're converting sales leads, we're getting market share and all of this kind of stuff. And this is when this book came into play for me, because I sat back and I thought, okay, that's terrific, but we're hearing from salespeople that they're starting to lose deals. We're hearing that they are not able to compete on Cisco's background. They really have to compete on margin. They really have to compete on feature functionality. It got very challenging out there in the marketplace for our salespeople. They also started telling us that they were across the table from different folks. They weren't just sitting across from the IT manager or from the director of IT or the wiring closet guy. They were sitting across the table from the chief marketing officer, the chief information officer. And they didn't really know how to talk to these people, because guess what? Cisco didn't know who these people were. Again, we were really focused on the tech buyers, not on the business buyers. So we decided to explore who this CIO was, who this person was, and how they thought. And we did, as Daniel said, nothing brain surgery here. It's reminding ourselves to do Marketing 101. We did some research to understand this person, and funny thing that we discovered, all of the kinds of marketing that we had been investing our dollars in, guess what percentage of that mattered to the business buyer? Any guess? 3%. A little bit, not quite zero, but 3%. So all of the money we were investing and all of the great white papers and ROI calculators and tools that we were putting out to market, our salespeople couldn't use when being relevant to the C-suite, and the customers could care less about it. They were in and out in a heartbeat because it was nothing that made sense to them. So we started to explore who this person was, and this is a fairly busy chart, but the point I'm trying to illustrate here is what they cared about really wasn't routing and switching and speeds and feeds and connectivity, the stories that Cisco traditionally would tell to our marketplace. They really cared about market opportunities. They cared about growing their business. They cared about better customer experience. They cared about price per earnings. They cared about things that Cisco really wasn't prepared to talk about from a sales standpoint. And again, we started to lose our seat at the table, right? They would talk to Microsoft and IBM about their 5- and 10-year business plan. They wouldn't talk to Cisco because they thought, once again, you guys are the plumbers, you're behind it all, but you're not the people we want to sit down with. So as marketing people, we took this information and we said, all right, now that we know the kinds of marketing tools and tactics that these folks respond to, and we understand their care-abouts, we'll go off and create some programs and some content around them. And the focus really was around the business challenges, right? What they anticipate to be the challenges ahead. And as you can see, it's a lot of stuff that was very, very business focused. So we went back and talked to our customers. Again, Marketing 101, but I think oftentimes, I know in my career, I get away from the basics and have to sort of bring myself back into reality there. We talked to our customers, and this quote sort of haunted me at the time. It's one of many that we heard from CIOs, where they say, hey, we really think of everything we do in terms of, does it help us grow or does it make us money? And if you talk to an average Cisco salesperson, they couldn't have those conversations back then. They knew how to sell routers, they knew how to sell switches. They didn't know how to sit down with a hospital and help them decrease time to patient care. They didn't know how to sit down in front of a bank and help them understand how to get more business banking clients. So we had to really think about what that meant in terms of marketing. The other group of people we spoke to were our salespeople. And here's a funny story. As I went out and started interviewing salespeople when we were coming up with this strategy, I remember talking to one guy and I said, gee, if you were at a cocktail party with your CIO, what would you do? And he said, oh, I'd go into my BlackBerry. And it's comical, but it's actually kind of sad because, top sales guy, blowing his number out every year, chairman's club, all the above, but he didn't have the tools. We as marketing people were not giving him the tools he needed. We were giving him the tools we thought he needed. Back to the conversation earlier this morning about company out versus customer in, we were very, very Cisco out. So we took a big step back and we thought, gee, with all of this information now, how do we hit the reset button? Or back to my analogy with the cute little mouse, how do we actually move our cheese? Is there a new cheese out there? It used to be the IT buyer, and in this case now it's the C-suite. And while this is a story about Cisco, I'm sure many of you could sit back in your own careers, whether you're working for an independent company, you're representing yourself, you're with an agency or whatnot, there are times where you might want to think a little bit differently, or as my CEO says, beyond the horizon about how you can move your own cheese. We also did some math, right? We took a look at the budget that the CIO actually represents, and it's a huge number. If you take a look at companies that are, 1,000 people plus, and you do the math around their revenue, 4.7% is quite a chunk of change, and at the time we weren't getting the lion's share of it, so we wanted to figure out a way to get more. So we moved our own cheese.